Is Nick Robertson finally getting his chance to be an NHL regular? Will the Leafs lineup shuffle finally create some offense from their depth? And will Matthew Knies finally get the opportunity that he's needed? And will he take that opportunity and run with it? My name is Darius Domingues, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. Guys, some huge news for the Leafs today already. They're playing Tampa. A lot of people are excited to see that playoff matchup once again. We saw it, for the first time in the season early on in the year. But let's start with the biggest news of the day. Nick Robertson has been called up from the Marlies. Finally, a lot of people wanted to see Nick Robertson on the Leafs to start the season. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way just because he was waiver exempt and he hasn't played games or a lot of games over the last few years. I mean, if we take a look here, for example, just to get things rolling, nice to see off the start of the day, Toronto Maple Leafs have finally done something with their lineup. Nicholas Robertson from the Toronto Marlies and Pontus Holmberg has been loaned back to the Marlies, which I think is pretty interesting to see what they're doing with their lineup. And we will get into that later in the video, what exactly they're doing with the lines. And I actually don't hate it. I think it's pretty good. We'll get into that though. But in terms of Nicholas Robertson, a lot of people didn't think, that he should have started the year in the AHL. A lot of people wanted him to start in the NHL. A lot of people want him to start progressing to what he's supposed to be. But guys, we got to take a look and be understanding as well because of COVID and all these other things, the COVID season. Let's take a look at his stats over the last few years. I want to go back to his OHL stats, okay? In his final year in the OHL, the COVID season, it was a shortened season for the OHL. They missed a few games. 55 goals in 46 games played. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Going back to the the OHL would not have served this guy well at all. So obviously we all know the story. He gets called up to the Leafs. He plays a couple playoff games, scores that goal in the bubble. And then the next year he only plays 6 games and he had some injury troubles too. I mean, he was sent down to the Marlies that year, played a little bit with the Marlies, had some injuries. He was called up the next year to the Leafs. He played a few games, 10 games, he scored a goal. It was, great. But he's dealt with injuries the last few years, even last year with the shoulder injury. He only played 15 games. He had 5 points. He looked good in those games, I thought, and he had one really, really good game against Dallas. But again, it's just the injuries. And to start this year, I mean, he has 11 points in 9 games so far with the Marlies, 5 goals, 6 assists. And he does, in fact, lead the Marlies in scoring. So, I mean, the guy has certainly not forgotten how to play hockey. I mean, that is just a ridiculous statement to make. He knows what he's, he's going to be able to translate this to the NHL level. He just needs to get reps under him, and I'm not worried about a guy like Nick Robertson at all. I think it would be dumb to trade him. You got to give him time, and I think he's going to get an opportunity here because he's starting to get his legs under him in the AHL so far this season. So it's really nice to see him called up, and we'll get into where he fits in the lineup shortly. But the excitement for tonight's game is certainly there. I mean, the game against Boston, we got into it. There's videos on the channel if you want to go check those out. They didn't play the greatest. There was hardly any pushback. Buffalo on Saturday, some really, really brain-dead plays from some guys that you need to be your best players. And the lack of depth is really showing in those games, especially Buffalo. And I didn't like the last minute with the Klingberg shot from the point. Terrible. But anyway, the excitement for tonight's game is certainly there. Curtis from Alberta, really, synonymous with Leaf fans on Twitter. He is a massive Nick Robertson fan, and he loves the fact that he's being called up. It's going to be an exciting game, and he's not wrong. I mean, this is something to look forward to tonight. Nick Robertson being called up. The last few games, it's been getting stale. The lineup is clearly not working, so they're making a change. That's really nice to see. I don't know what you guys think, but personally, you have to do something when things are not working, so that's incredibly nice to see personally. All right, so that being said, there were some more lineup changes. I'm excited for this guy as well. Matthew Knies gets his chance on the first line. I have been saying it for the last 3 videos I've done post-game, and everywhere on Twitter, I've been saying, get Matthew Knies on that first line. He has been playing great, but the third line has been purposeless. Okay, David camped up the middle with Domi and Matthew Knies has been purposeless. There's no direction for that line, okay? So it's really nice to see Matthew Knies finally getting his shot to play with Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. I love his game. I love what he's been doing so far this season, especially on the forecheck. I think he's going to complement these two fantastically. And vice versa. I think he's going to be a great option for both of these guys. So just to see him getting that shot, I am super excited. So that being said, let's take a look at how the team shapes up tonight against the Tampa Bay Lightning, because it's a huge game. Tampa's going to roll in. They want revenge after the last game where Matthew Knies showed out as well, so that should be great. Matthew Knies plays Tampa fantastic. I mean, he is the Leafs' best player against Tampa in the last year. Wouldn't you agree? So anyway, let's take a look here at the forward lines. As Daily Faceoff has it right now, Matthew Knies, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner is your first line. Tyler Bertuzzi will stick with John Tavares and William Nylander. Now a new rejigged third line, which I love. Okay, Nicholas Robertson, Max Domi, and Kalle Järnkrok. I did not like Järnkrok on that top line. I think he's a good player, but I don't know if he's a top line player. And I like Max Domi up the middle there. So I think that line has a little more purpose. They can kind of get in your face. They're going to be able to forecheck. There's scoring options there. It's really nice. And then David Kampf back on the fourth line center position where I think he belongs with Ryan Reeves and Noah Gregor. I also really like Noah Gregor's game. I think he's a perfect fourth liner, like the stereotypical fourth liner. He's fast. He can get in on the forecheck. He throws hits. So I love his game too. We haven't been giving him enough love. So love that from him as well. Another Leaf tonight that's going to be inserted into the lineup is on defense. It looks like Simone Benoit is staying out for extra work, which means he will be, taking to the ice tonight for his Leafs debut, which is also really, really nice to see because the Leafs need other options. The defense looked very tired and slow on Saturday. And I mean, if you're playing guys 5-6 minutes, especially on defense, the top guys are going to get tired. Gio had to take a maintenance day as well yesterday. So it's going to get a little hairy if you're playing guys that little. So Simone Benoit brings in some NHL experience, and I think that's going to help the Leafs a little bit, especially with minutes management tonight, because Tampa is no joke, okay? It's going to be an exciting game. It's going to be a fast-paced game, and it's going to be a tough game, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. It's going to be a very tough game. Something I thought that was interesting heading into tonight's game, too, in terms of lineup, is Joseph Woll got the net on Saturday against the Buffalo Sabres. It looks like they're going back to Ilya Samsonov because he was the first goalie off the ice at Leafs skate this morning. It was an optional skate, just to keep in mind, but he is the projected starter against the Lightning tonight. And something to keep in mind, it looks like they're going to be going back to a tandem kind of style, 1-1 with Woll and Samsonov, which I don't hate. But an interesting storyline for this game is that they're not going to Woll, who played great against Tampa. Samsonov was pulled in Tampa earlier this season, so this could be a redemption game for Samsonov. Wouldn't that be sweet? To win 2 games against the Tampa Bay Lightning so far this year and have Samsonov have that redemption arc in this game. I think that would be sweet. But the last thing I want to touch on today, guys, before the game against Tampa is team toughness. The Leafs, we got into it in a video on the channel yesterday. Ryan Reeves kind of calling out the team. They're a little bit soft. They know that teams can kind of push them around. Okay, I think it's well aware, and other teams know that they can push them around, all right? So I want to see a little bit more team toughness tonight. I want to see them take a step with that tonight. I want to see Reeves do something, address that, because I did not really see that addressed against Buffalo. Now, there really wasn't a reason for it against Buffalo, right? It was kind of a tight game, back and forth scoring. But against Boston, I just didn't like the pushback. So I want to see something tonight that suggests that they're not going to be taking any bleep. You know what I mean? I want to see something that suggests that they are working on that they're aware of it in the room and they're working to address it. And I like what Sheldon Keefe has done here, and Brad Treliving, I guess, calling up Nicholas Robertson. They did something with the lineup. It clearly wasn't working. They did something. They're heading to play Tampa tonight. It should be a great game. So I like the fact that they at least made some lineup changes and they're trying to address those things. And they had a tough start to the year last year in October, so I'm not ready to panic myself, but I'm ready to panic if you consistently don't get the results you want and you stay with the same lineup. So the fact that they're making some changes and they're moving Domi to center, like the fact that third line has a little bit of purpose now, I am liking that. But let me know what you guys think about the Leafs lineup changes today heading into Tampa. I think it's going to be a very exciting game. Let me know what you think. And if you're excited for the game tonight, I mean, I'm super excited to watch. It's always great when the Leafs and Tampa face off. I mean, they're always fantastic, tough games to watch. Like even last year, the contrast of going from Tampa to Florida in the playoffs was crazy. Like Tampa was such a the games just seemed like they were just so much more intense. So it should be a good one. Let me know what you think. And my name is Darius Domingues. This is Leafs Digest, and we will see you in the next video.